Hi there, welcome to the Raven's Call. I am Eric, Wordweaver Sjerven, Gothi of the Rokkrtru folk here in East Texas, and I'd like to welcome you to the show. This is a show where I ramble on about different heathen-related subjects, just kind of whatever strikes my fancy at the time, whatever lights my mind on fire. And UPG alert, guys, this is just how I see the world. This is the views of one particular Gothi here in East Texas, and it does not necessarily reflect upon heathenry as a whole. I myself am not a recon heathen specifically. I'm kind of a middle-of-the-road heathen. I don't count myself over in the fluffy bunny side of things. I also don't count myself in the hardcore recon side of things. I'm somewhere in the middle, and that's just where I like to be. So, I say that because you guys need to know that there are differing points of view along this spectrum, and you need to listen to everybody you can to develop your own understanding of the world around you. Never let anybody dictate to you your reality. You go out and you find it yourself and you figure it out. And read everything you can, listen to everybody you can, etc., etc., etc. Now, if you guys like what I do, if you like my videos, please hit subscribe down below, ding the bell, and the more you interact with my videos, the more you'll see. All my contact information is down below in the description, so you will get my email, my Saraha, my Facebook group, my Twitter, which is laughable because I'm horrible at Twitter. I don't even always remember to upload the links to the videos to Twitter. I don't do Twitter well. Anyway, it is what it is. Now, without further ado, we're going to jump off into today's subject, okay? And today's subject is one that I've been kind of reticent to do for a little while. I feel like I need to, simply because there are some newbies out there that just don't know. I'm actually surprised to find the number of individuals that don't know. And I have particular stances on this that I'll try not to get too vitriolic with. I'll try and kind of take a middle-of-the-road, informative approach. But I can't promise, because I have particular feelings about this. Do forgive. This is simply my channel, my way of thinking, and my worldview. So I do not mean offense to anyone out there. I know you guys are going to have different ways of going at it and different viewpoints, even on this particular subject, okay? So, Rokkrtru. Rokkrtru. Now, for those of you that are not aware of what Rokkrtru are, Rokkrtru, and that's Rokkrtru, or Rokkrtru, for anybody that doesn't do the whole rolled R, Old Norse kind of thing. Rokkrtru are, that comes from the suffix part of Ragnarok, and is tied to the Ragnarok cycle in application of modern linguistic elements. It's taking the Rok from Ragnarok and it is tying it to the Tru from like Asatru. And so it is followers of the entities of Ragnarok. So, what all that means is a Rokkrtru is an individual who, you know, like an Asatru or other heathens would tie their worship and their fealty to the tribe of the Aesir, to the gods, or like Vanatru do with the Vanir. Rokkrtru tie their fealty and their worship to what I describe as baleful wights, as spirits that are entities of chaos, and specifically things like Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent, Fenris, the great wolf, and then to a certain extent Hel, and some of the other Jotun that are tied in, that are specifically enemies to the gods. Okay? Now, part of the reason that I bring this up is simply because people need to know this exists. Okay? In general, I have my own personal viewpoints on it, like I've said before, but in general, you've got the tribe of the gods, which most heathens swear their fealty to. That's what they worship, the gods, and they build their culture and their society around elements of our ancestral worship of the gods, as well as revering our ancestors and the Vatir of the land. The giants, the Jotun, I'm loath to call them giants because there actually is a debate as to whether or not they're truly giants or if that's an error in translation. The Jotun themselves are a different race than the gods. So it's a different tribe, a different race, descended of Ymir, as opposed to the gods, which are descended from Bor and Buri. So the the gist here, and of course there's interbreeding between the Jotun and the Aesir, so it's not like the lines are completely clean of one another anyway. Skadi herself is of Jotun blood and brought into the tribe of the Aesir. And this is a point that I get to here that I'm going to harp on here in just a minute, is the whole societal tribal element of things and why that fuels my particular viewpoints on things. But Rokkrtru are individuals who revere those entities that are present and prevalent in the cycle of Ragnarok, in the ending, the twilight of the gods, the reversion of the world back to chaos. Our gods are gods of order. The Aesir, when they come in, apply order to the world. Now, the Jotnar are agents of chaos, to an extent. Not necessarily even agents of chaos, they are raw, chaotic energies and power, more formless than anything else. They are not of order the way that our gods are of order. The gods come in and take this raw, chaotic energy and they apply form and function to it. Case in point, if you look at the cosmology, you look at Odin, Vid, and they who slay Ymir in the first sacrifice. And from Ymir and the chaos, the violent act of the sacrifice, they forge Midgard and the Nine Worlds. They go through and they create the world from Ymir. Because before there was Ginnungagap, and then there was the fires of Muspelheim, the icy mist of Niflheim, and in the middle they mix in Ginnungagap, and boom, we have suddenly the great frost fields from which come Ymir, Adumla, the sacred cow who licks the ice, and from the rime come Bor and Buri, Besla. And we end up with the two tribes. You end up with the tribe of the gods, you end up with the tribe of the giants, or the Jotun. And the gods slay Ymir and create order from that chaos. They give form to the sky, to the world, to the rivers, to everything. They create order. That is the essence of the gods. They come in and apply order to chaos, creating a world in which we can exist. Because human beings cannot exist in pure chaos. We are beings of order. Our bodies themselves function based on order. Without order, we cease to be, and everything becomes nebulous. So, the Jotnar are not necessarily as bound by the order that the gods impose upon the world. Thus, the clashing of the two, the symbolic war between order and chaos. And Rokkrtru tie themselves to these entities that are over on the chaotic side of things. Now, for order to exist, chaos must exist. So the entities, the baleful wights, the ones that would see harm come to the gods, specifically because of either slights by the gods against them, or because of just rebelling against order, because that is their function in the great scheme of things. They're simply being themselves, doing what they do. In all of this, you end up with this opposition between the gods and the Jotnar. So the Jotnar are on the side of chaos, are just not on the side of the gods. They are in opposition to the gods. Hence why Thor is constantly going to war with the Jotnar. That's why the Jotnar come during time of Ragnarok to battle the gods on Vigrid plains and to sunder order back into chaos. And so this differs somewhat from Nidhogg, who is the eater beneath the tree, who I see as entropy and seeks inertness, nothingness. Chaos is still something, it's just not order. So there's a difference of order and chaos, but against all of that is Nidhogg in the bottom, who is trying to revert things to nothingness, back to Ginnungagap. So, because even chaos cannot exist in nothingness. The Rokkrtru, individuals that follow these agents of chaos, to use the the term. They frequently will hold bloth or ritual to entities such as Jormungandr, Fenris, or any of the other baleful wights, Laufey. There's a lot of workings with Loki in there too, because Loki bridges the gap, and Hel to a certain extent. And I'm going to come back to Hel in a next video because I have some particular thoughts on that. That actually I started to film that video first and then decided I needed to come and do this one before that one because I needed to give some context in this whole opposition of the Aesir and the Jotnar, because like with any feud, there is crossover. Order can be applied to chaos. You see chaotic entities enter into the tribe of the gods and be given order. Skadi is a prime example of that. After her father is slain, she comes to seek retribution by beseeching the hand of Balder in marriage. And the gods, of course, acquiesce to this to a certain extent, and they won't give her Balder directly, but they will have her enter into a game wherein she's only allowed to see the feet of the individual and must pick her husband amongst the feet. And of course, she chooses the most beautiful pair of feet, thinking that this will of course be Balder, because he's the most beautiful of the gods, except it's actually Njord, who is a god of the seafaring ways. And of course, seafaring guys don't tend to wear shoes, fed by the waters, etc., etc. He would have beautiful feet, or he would have horrible feet. It's one of the two. But in this instance, beautiful feet. So she chooses that, ends up with Njord, and is brought into the tribe of the Aesir. Now, of course, being true to her chaotic ways, she does not function necessarily well in the world of the Aesir, and there is some issue there. You know, she has trouble being at the ocean side with Njord when she needs to be in the wilds of the mountains. Njord needs his domain and does not function well necessarily in the wilds of the mountains away from his oceans. There is order and chaos here, but there's also more than that. You'll also see some correlation to the Hades story in that whole, Persephone Demeter aspect. So Skadi's brought into the tribe and is given some order, and then of course order is applied to their relationship in order to make it function such that there is a sharing, etc., etc. Now, there are other instances of this. Thor himself is seen as being born of Jord, which is a Jotun of the earth, a correlation to Gaia, the spirit of the earth kind of thing. And in that, Thor does take on some Jotun-like elements. There's an element of chaos in Thor, in that when he rages, when he berserks, he is fueled by that chaotic energy, but it is harnessed and given order by his Aesir side, and it is focused at the enemy. So he is the ordered wielding of chaos in combat for a specific purpose. Like the hammer, it is directed force. So there are instances where the two cross over, but still it is seen as two separate tribes. Okay. Now Rokkrtru worship this tribe over here. A dear friend of mine who, and this gets down to why I don't necessarily jive with Rokkrtru, okay? Because I'll come back to his story in a second. But Rokkrtru, in worshiping these entities, these are the entities that are largely in opposition to the gods. I mean, you're looking specifically at Jormungandr, who is responsible for the death of Thor. You see Fenris, who is responsible for the death of Odin. Now, of course, that story is complicated, and I have my own theories about kind of some of the societal play out with the whole Fenris element, because that's probably the muddiest of them all. But they worship these entities and give power to them, give praise to them, give worship to them, and in so doing place themselves in opposition to the tribe of the Aesir, who are agents of order. By worshiping what they see as agents of chaos, a necessary part of the process of the world and existence, which it is, they give power to that, and in worshiping tie themselves to that. In so doing, they tie themselves to opposition of the gods, and in opposition of the world that the gods have created. Okay, now back to my buddy's story. Now, Rod Landreth was an absolutely wonderful individual. He has long since gone and joined his ancestors, and I miss him dearly. But I do want to shout out to those that know Rod or knew Rod, and definitely value his memory. Rod had a wonderful saying back when he was alive. He said that worshipping Fenris or any of the baleful wights is like worshipping the Ebola virus. The more energy that you pour into them, the stronger you make them. And when they finally break free, you, kneeling in front of them, are going to be the first one they devour. Worshipping agents of chaos ties one to an entity that is most likely to destroy them before it gets to its target. And I see this running in opposition to the very existence of humanity, largely because we are a creation of the gods, we are of the gods, and therefore in opposition to the Jotnar, and they would then, at least the baleful ones, the ones that are out to destroy the gods, would gladly just run over us in trying to get to the gods, because we are the nothingness, the little ants at the feet of the gods that they've created, and they will have no problem stepping on us to get to the gods, because that's what they're about. So they're fulfilling their function. Don't get me wrong. I do recognize that the Jotnar are necessary in the grand cosmology of everything, that they are, for order to exist, chaos must exist. So without one, there cannot be the other. They must both exist. And for us to exist, those must exist as well. But for us to continue to exist, we must stand in opposition of those things. We do this in our daily life as we go through life. We stand up and we fight against chaos by trying to erect order in our lives. We try to get steady income so that we can make sure that we have food and shelter. We try to stock our shelves so that we have that food. Chaos would be not knowing where the next meal would come from. That is not the way of survival. We are ordered beings. Our bodies are based on order, and we need order to survive. Flexibility within that order is necessary, but still you are operating within the bounds of the system created by the gods and created by man as a result of what the gods have gifted us. And to enter into chaos with that, you end up in something that runs in opposition to society, it runs in opposition to the survival of humanity, and it runs in opposition to our very psyche. There are manifestations of this chaos in the human mind, and it manifests in things such as like borderline personality disorder. Reminder for those that are kind of new to the channel, my degree is in psychology, so that's actually, I do a lot of my work in correlations between heathenry and psychology. I find it very fascinating, and I do a lot of stuff with the correlation of the soul complex to mental health and how the two interplay. This is simply just a correlation in the whole chaos element. Individuals with borderline personality disorder thrive on chaos. They cannot function well in ordered society, and for various reasons seek to destroy that. Antisocial behaviors are just that, against society, against order. So you end up with individuals with antisocial personality traits, which is borderline personality, that's conduct disorder, things that lead to antisocial personality disorder, which is, of course, your sociopaths. Borderlines are kind of sociopathic light. And then, of course, psychopaths have lost all grip on reality altogether. And it is through delusion and hallucination that they create chaos. But that's because they have lost their grip on reality as a whole. So if they know what they're doing and just don't care, they're a sociopath. If they don't know what's going on around them, but they're in their own little world, in their own created delusion of a world, that's where you get into psychopathy. Okay? Psych 101 kind of stuff. All right, so borderline personality disorders and antisocial personality disorders manifest this element of chaos, and they are severely destructive to the society in which they exist. They can't hold down relationships. They actually actively seek out to destroy relationships. They destroy homeostasis. They destroy peace and bring strife. And it's not necessarily that they want to. It's simply that's just how they're wired. and as such they cannot fit into society itself and frequently become outcasts from society. The ones that do manage to remain in society do so at the peril of the society that maintains them. So this is kind of similar to the situation over here. You have individuals that are actively empowering entities that run in opposition to the gods and in opposition to order. If Fenris, let's say that you say that you sit and do blot to Fenris, and you raise horn to Fenris, you feed him your energies. You are feeding him life energy, you are feeding him worship, you are feeding him power. When Fenris breaks free and seeks out Odin in Ragnarok, the first one that he's going to devour as the great hungering maw is going to be those sitting right in front of him. The agents of chaos do not care for relationships. They do not care for fealty, because those are things of order. Those are not things of chaos. That's just a thing. Chaos doesn't do relationship, because relationship is the codification of interaction between two individuals. That is, applying a logical order to social interaction, and there cannot be order if they are chaos. So they will sunder relationship whenever possible, and have no bearing for the sanctity of life, because again, that falls into order versus chaos. So I found a lot of dichotomies in heathenry because of the relative nature of the way the ethics work and the way the cosmology works and everything. So it's not so much good versus evil, it's more order versus chaos, which you will find to be a common thread along a lot of pre-Christian, pre-conversion, polytheistic religions, especially in the Indo-European route of things. The whole order versus chaos element. Chaos is acknowledged as being necessary for the functioning of everything, but order is preferable over that, because order is where we can live and where we can survive. So I call attention to all of this simply because people need to understand that there are individuals out there who do this very thing. And you will make your own decisions on who you interact with and how you view these things and your own views, because there's also a rebellious nature to humanity in that we will buck against codification and against system, that element of chaos that's within all of us, because we are of the profane world. So there is going to be some of that. So there's some individuals that will, on a rudimentary level, identify with this kind of act of rebellion, this act of, you can't tell me what to do. But I charge that these individuals still seek order. They just seek control over the order in their world, and thusly rebelling against what they perceive to be an oppressive force that is controlling the order of their lives. They seek to wrest that control from that force and to maintain the order themselves. And we all need a certain element of that, because that's the way we're wired. I think that comes as a gift from the gods to a certain extent, the need to be in control of things. Some take it a little too far. I myself have been known to have some control issues, so I get it. But rebelling against authority is not the same as siding with chaos. It's not siding with anarchy, because without society as a whole, survival is not a thing. In true chaos, you cannot survive. The things that you would know even as a survivalist, as a person who knows how to go into the wilderness and provide for themselves, to survive for themselves, those are based on order. That is the order of the natural world and your understanding of it. You understand that order, therefore you know how to survive within that system. Bucking the system of, say, progress, quote unquote, or civilization is not the same as siding with chaos, is not the same as necessarily siding with anarchy, in the chaotic form of anarchy, not in the simply disestablishment side of anarchy. Again, that's a complicated thing, and I'm not getting into politics because meh. In essence, siding with pure chaos is to sign one's own suicide note, because if you remove all order, then you remove everything by which you can exist. To fall into chaos is not that much different than falling into nothingness from where we stand, simply because You remove the order, you remove that which is us, which is the culmination of soul, self, Orlog, luck, all of that is here in an ordered form that is our existence today. If you remove the order and everything dissipates into chaos, then the individual is no longer the individual and we cease to be. That got deep. So, I don't jive with Rokkrtru because of these reasons. Because not just because I swear fealty to the Aesir, and therefore the enemy of the Aesir must be my enemy in correlation to that relationship, but rather because from a purely logistical standpoint, to side with the agents of chaos is to take a stance against my own existence, because we do not exist in a realm of chaos. We exist in a realm of order. And when you keep in mind the whys of things and the root element of things, gods of order, creating ordered world wherein we can exist as beings of order, even if we seek to control that order ourselves, it's still about order. Order is necessary for survival. So this is why I have issues somewhat on the Rokkrtru side of things, is because I see this as not a healthy way to go. Let me put it that way. Try to not go too far off kilter here, but I don't see going that route being good for the individual, and it's definitely not good for society. Regardless of the society that you build. When I say society, I don't just mean like Western society versus Eastern society. I'm not talking in the meta structure. I'm talking down here, grassroots. I'm talking about my tribe. I am talking about my family. Chaos does not allow me to protect my Innengarth. Chaos does not allow me to provide for my Innengarth. I need order for that. I need order to be able to ensure that my family eats, that they have protection from the elements. I need that order, and we develop our own societal order based on that. And with greater society as a whole being a thing, we have to find our place within that society in order to provide the things that we need in order to provide for the tribe. So make of that what you will. I've kind of rambled on long enough with respect to Rokkrtru in this. I just wanted you guys to kind of be aware of what it is. A lot of people have had different experiences, different interactions with Rokkrtru, and it's important to note that these entities, these individuals, are still human beings. They still have feelings. So I wouldn't say go out and do anything negative against them. Just be mindful of who you share weird with and how that's going to impact your weird and your luck. So, and if you guys are Rokkrtru watching this video, I'm not entirely certain why a Rokkrtru would be watching my videos to begin with. I tend to take a kind of different approach on heathenry that doesn't necessarily jive with my own. But you never know, you know. Feel free to join in the conversation and let people know kind of where you're coming from. But this is where I stand, and I know I'm kind of going on a limb taking a stance like this. But I think you guys need to be aware that it's a thing, and I can't help but, you know, give my own insights on that. So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. I've rambled on about Rokkrtru enough. The real point in all of this was just to kind of bring attention to a side of heathenry that's out there. I can't help but put my own spin on things and my own opinions more than anything else. But I see things a certain way, and I feel like people need to be aware that this is out there, and kind of some of the elements as to, you know, why they would choose one way or the other. It's you guys' choice what you do with that. I'm not necessarily out to bash Rokkrtru, as it were, but I don't get Rokkrtru. I don't understand. And that's simply me. So you guys do with it what you will. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Stay tuned, and we'll do something else fun next week. I believe next week I'm going to delve into some of my own interpretations on hell. That's going to be interesting. We'll see where that goes. Thank you guys. Hail. May your ancestors smile on you. All right, we're gonna try and do this. You guys don't see this stuff, but it's like out of order. I started to do one video, which should be the next one that comes out, and then I had to bounce back to do this video because I felt like the context was needed. Okay, so here we go. In three, 3, 2, 1, let's jam. UPG alert, this is how I see the world. This has gotten, I'm not a recon heathen. I know I throw that out there a lot, but I want you guys to understand there are reconstructionists out there that do things a little bit differently, and you need to listen to them too so that you have a well-rounded view and can make your own decisions. I feel like it's important, you know, coming from where I am, that my phone is ringing, and that's kind of ridiculous. Hang on. I can't get off. There we go. Alright. I'm going to try this again. 3, 2, 1. Well, coffee first. How do you get a video done when the phone keeps ringing? It's ridiculous. Alright. Ridiculous! Yeah, I can't say that word without going Harry Potter. All right, in 3, 2, 1, let's jam. Hi there. Welcome to the Raven's Call. I am Eric Wordweaver Sjerven, Gothi of the Ridgar folk here in East Texas, and I'd like to welcome you to the show. This is a show where I ramble on about different heathen-related subjects, whatever strikes my mind at the time or lights my mind on fire. And I hope you guys enjoy it. So, before we jump into, the mainstream stuff, let's botch this intro, because that's what we do. No, I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna cut it. That's fine. We'll just cut. I'm not gonna. Crazy stuff. All right. 3, 2, 1. Let's jam. All right. Rokkrtru ending due to interruption. My door. I had to go answer the door because actually at work, and I have to actually work. So I kind of slide this in wherever I can. And so there's lots of interruptions. It is what it is. So anyway, let's do this ending in 3, 2, 1. Let's jam.